Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Night Pod. My name is Jacobowitz and my tag team partner Adam Welby.
Hey yo!
This is the podcast all about the Monday Night Wars, all about the battles between WWF, Raw, and WCW Nitro. Each and every single week we go back in time and we re-review when Raw goes head-to-head against Nitro. But that's not what we're doing this week, Adam. Here's the thing. We promised you a best of 2020. It is almost the end of February, but we wanted to bring it to you anyway, and we've been a little delayed, but I figured like this is a nice way to segue back into the podcast. But Adam, before we get to that, do you want to tell people why they should listen to what we have to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because obviously absence makes the heart grow fonder, and it's been a while since we've been together, so that's one reason. And if you're new, you should listen to what we have to say, because we obviously know what we're talking about enough, because I guess it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing right now that I'm seeing, because we've been on such a little brief hiatus here that enough people were speaking up. Enough of the podheads were coming together and we're like, yo, what is going on here? Where are you guys? We need you back because of your extreme perfect knowledge that you gained throughout your lifetimes of working in pro wrestling. Wait, we didn't work a lifetime in pro wrestling,
Felt
did we,
like
Jeremy?
a lifetime.
I might have those details. It did feel like a lifetime. But Jeremy, I think you can tell them the real reason why we're qualified.
We both used to work at WWE, worked in W tape library jobs, and watch all of wrestling. So if you missed last week's little special bonus extra episode for you guys, Renee Paquette was on the episode, so maybe you should go back and listen to that, because I had been teasing that for a while. She's there. And
you did a woniful job with it, by the way, Jer Bear. I'm very proud of you.
Last week, you could hear her favorite Monday Night Wars memories, which is fun. Two, I explained why we haven't been recording. Adam, would you like to catch people up, just in case they did?
Yes, as Jeremy said, and as has been hinted at on Twitter, it is entirely my fault. I've decided to jam a lot of adulting into a very short amount of time, so I essentially built a house, and my wife had a beautiful baby girl, and so we've been quite busy. But now we are not living nomad lifestyles like we were throughout all of 2020, like many people were. And I have a permanent position in this spot right here that I should be recording from. I have a microphone now. It's I figured, hey, let's stay a while. We still got 4 years to go in the Monday Night Wars, so I know me and Jer Bear ain't going anywhere no time soon, so I apologize from the bottom of my heart for the delay. Just know it wasn't strictly from laziness like my delays usually are. And we're back here. We're back to bring you that insight and that perspective that only can be found right here on Monday Night Pod.
Yes, but we're not doing that this week, unfortunately. We are doing Best of 2020. But what's been nice is a lot of you guys have been messaging me, told me that it's actually been really great for you guys to sort of catch up with us, because we started this journey over 2 years ago. And it's, some guys, you might have discovered us a month ago, and it's hard to catch up on years worth of content. So we're giving you a little time to catch up anyway, and then we could hit the whatever go hard when we're back up and running officially.
And also, I think, everybody puts out their best of 2020 retrospective style episodes in early January after a year has finished. I mean, come on, maybe we're going to let everybody digest with it for a little while. And now, towards almost when it's March, it's time to talk about it. Maybe we'll do our best of 2016 next. Who knows?
It was a struggle to do this just because I could not remember what was last year and this year. But I did a little Googling, and I believe all my answers are all 2020, hopefully. So,
yes, hopefully. And when we screw it up, I promise that we will get told by the podheads on Twitter, and by all means, call us out, let us know. And Jeremy, I think you know what those handles are, correct?
Yes, you can follow us. Well, it's been a while. I don't know. What is it? Monday Night Pod on Twitter? I think it's just that. Yeah, Monday Night Pod on Twitter, Monday Night Pod everywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment below and let us know what we got wrong. That's even easier. And wherever listening to this podcast, make sure to follow and subscribe. Leave a 5-star review if you're listening specifically on Apple Podcast, because that's very helpful.
That's right. So Jeremy just did he's telling you to do 5-star and join Dark Order. So, that's good.
Well, Adam, you put together a lovely list. We've both written down our answers. I did not peek at yours, so I do not know what your answers are. I have an idea of what you leaned towards. So I will say this, just so we could have diversity here, I did specifically try and pick things that I knew Adam most likely was not going to pick. And you also get a little mindset of how we watch wrestling too. But do you want us to run through this in order of what we got here?
Absolutely. So, as is tradition on Monday Night Pod, we put a plan in place and then kind of wing it and sort of lose the plot about halfway through. But hopefully, we land on Earth eventually. So, because I know I made a list for Jeremy, I made us 2 different Google Docs, but I think I might have added a couple of my own in there afterwards.
I believe last year when we did this, we ended up picking half the people we did not even think about. We just were like, oh, what about this person? Oh, yeah, okay. So,
yeah. That was great. So, I'll just run through the categories that I have for us today. That'll give us a little bit of a preview.
Just do it. Let's do it.
Well, you know what? Yeah, let's wing it. Let's go all the way through. Let's start off hot right here. I think we are going to start off with Monday Night Pod's 2020 retrospective. Favorite performer. Now, I should mention, we're saying favorite performer here. I don't know if it's best performer necessarily, but I think maybe you chose to go that way. I think my favorite was also the best.
Okay.
So I'm confident in my pick.
I went more overall, but okay, that's fine. Do you want to say your favorite first?
I would be happy to. My favorite performer of the year for 2020 goes to, I'm following the line, it's Jon Moxley. There's no way. I don't think there's many that can be argued above Jon Moxley. There's certainly people who had a great year. Sasha Banks, for example, who put in a bunch of good storylines and a bunch of good work. But I am thinking about wrestling a little bit differently these days. I came up in wrestling pretty much strictly as a WWE fan. I wasn't really watching New Japan stuff. I wasn't getting deep into the indies or whatnot. But in the last couple of years, it's been things that I've been expanding my view of professional wrestling, especially with the alternative AEW being around in a mainstream capacity and watching Impact more on Twitch and stuff like that. The access to wrestling is so much easier than it ever was. And so I picked Jon Moxley not only because of his matches and his promos and his stories and everything like that, but just because of what he is doing in wrestling, where he's going to Bloodsport, he's going to New Japan, he's trying different things, he's expanding the industry and helping the industry in that way. So for that reason and the others I mentioned, Jon Moxley, my favorite performer of 2020.
Yes, I'm not going to argue with that, I guess, but I did pick somebody else. You brought up Sasha and Bailey. Obviously was in the mix, but I feel like I spoiler alert, I have a couple other things going to them, so I didn't want to do that. Adam, I went with head of the table, Roman Reigns. Even missing a few months, I feel like he was getting back at it earlier, having great matches. Even if the storyline sucked early 2020, his matches are really good. And then he came back and he was like, yeah, I'm the goddamn man. And I just went with someone that made me feel things. Not that Jon Moxley doesn't make me feel things, but Roman makes me feel things on a whole other level. And he finally made the ascent to the actual top dog.
You are right with a lot of points there, and especially the thing that I appreciate about Roman Reigns is he's finally the Roman Reigns that we've wanted him to be for 7 years. I'm a little bit less excited about it in that we've been, as fans, have been begging for this character, for this style of Roman for so long. And for so many years, they're just like, no, this is who he is. This is who we're presenting. And so that makes it a little less impactful to me. But that's a fine pick, Jared.
Adam,
I think
he
you did
has
a great job there.
He has new teeth, and he's shredded. So that combination, that's what does it.
Sure does.
All right, well,
sure does. I could use a new. I could use a bit different of theme music and stuff like that too. But
eventually, he said it's eventually coming. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Jim Johnson, isn't there anymore, so they can't just pump out these songs. And the other two,
got to call him back.
And what's
CFO's
gone? CFO's gone. Yeah, so stupid. Anyway.
Now it's just the worst.
Pretty much. Favorite match? I will go first. My pick was Bailey and Sasha at Hell in a Cell. So the conclusion to that storyline, fantastic job. mostly because I didn't pick them as favorite performer. I'm like, let me give them this. Again, I went with what made me feel things.
That's good. I will say on that note, a thing I also appreciate about that match is it was sort of a redemption Hell in a Cell match for Sasha, in my
Redemption
opinion.
Hell in a Cell for the concept of Hell in a Cell as well.
Well,
After the abysmal
it had been
ones we saw last year.
a couple of years. That was going to be my point in the abysmal Sasha versus Charlotte Hell in a Cell. That is one of my least favorite matches of all time, just because of the promise going into it and then how horribly it underdelivered. So, fine pick, Jeremy. I'm basic with this one. I'm going Kenny and Hangman versus the Bucks at Revolution. That match had just so much going on for it. There were so many callbacks, so many references, so much emotion, so perfect pacing. It went a long time. Like I just adore that match. Gosh, Revolution. I miss crowds.
I mean, I was thinking Stadium Stampede. I was thinking the Bray Wyatt John Cena thing, but I kind of wanted it to be more of a traditional match.
Well, I might have a reference to that later because, as we mentioned, I might have thrown in some
surprise
things
right.
last minute that maybe you didn't have, and you'll be able to think about it in the moment. I also put in an honorable mention there for just a match that I really like and is very important to me is Cody versus Brody Lee in the dog collar match for the TNT title. So many reasons. I thought obviously it was an excellent match to begin with, probably the best dog collar match that we've seen in decades. And then there's just so much weight to it on top of it, with it being Brody Lee's final match. And as longtime listeners of the show know, Brody Lee was my favorite wrestler, and so a lot of emotion personally with all that thing, and just very well executed all around. So all about that.
Okay.
Well, now if our lists are alike, then we're going to have favorite debut up
That's
next.
what I got.
Mind if I lead this
Take
one off? It's got to go with the debut that lit the world, the wrestling world of Twitter and Reddit and everything else on fire. It's got to be Sting's debut in AEW. I know I have shat on some Sting stuff for quite a while. I'm becoming more of a Sting fan, like going through all of this, all the Monday Night Wars stuff. Much more than I ever was, but I think that was just such a shocking debut on so many levels, just with Sting's history with TNT, with how his career was seeming like it was going to peter out and he wasn't going to be able to go out on his own terms, just the excitement around it, like that was truly a special debut, and it is one of the debuts that I will remember, I think, for the rest of my wrestling watching career. So favorite debut this year went to Sting debuting in AEW.
Yeah, now I'm remembering our argument last year, and I believe we picked Chris Jericho last year, and our thought process was like, even though he's not debuting, he's re-debuting, and we let that count. I forgot about that. So I went with someone that actually made their in-ring wrestling debut this year, and I went with Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, okay. That's a good argument. I guess you could, if you're talking about in-ring stuff, you could also have made a pretty decent play for Pat McAfee.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, damn. I should have had him. Yeah, I should have had him all over this thing. Fuck.
Yeah,
Pat wins every category. We'll just say that. Everyone I pick will now be second place compared to Pat McAfee.
Perfect. All right, next up, I have favorite story here, or favorite storyline, I guess one could say. Jeremy, do you want to start this one?
Sure. I picked Sasha and Bayley, too. It was the only storyline that WWE pretty much played out properly and had a conclusion to. I think there are a lot of strong storylines, especially when my brain went to AEW. I was like, there might have been ones that are stronger, but I still think they're not concluded yet, so I didn't want to pick that one. Like, I'm thinking, like, like Kenny Omega and Hangman and Page. Like, okay, like that, right. You could go there, but it's not even peaked yet, so I don't know if I want to count that one. So I went with one that we saw play out the entire year and seems to have come to a final conclusion.
That is a fair observation with it, and I agree. Obviously, Sasha Bayley, excellent. If you'll see a theme going for both of our picks, and I think it's exactly what you went with. I got my favorite performer of the year on this one, but I went with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Ooh.
I know it was a pretty short-lived feud, but it felt my favorite. My favorite things in wrestling is when they feel real, right? And the history between these two guys and everything that they put into it was just so. It just struck on such a great chord at every level. I know that people were a little upset early on when Kingston got his first shot and was choked out by the bully choke and didn't tap out or anything like that. But then it led to that really brutal encounter that they had at Full Gear, and I just really, really loved that story. And on top of it, I mean, we talked about what Moxley is doing for professional wrestling, but leaning into the realness of wrestling. And when I love something real in wrestling, something real that's happening is with Eddie Kingston and him finding his place on mainstream television wrestling, at this point in his career. Like, what a talent, what a promo, what a storyteller. I'm so sold on Kingston, and I'm really glad to see the kind of work that he's doing right now, even though I think his finisher sucks.
Okay. Favorite promo?
Favorite promo. All right. Well, in that same world, I had Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston when they were face to face, but were not supposed to touch. When Kingston was talking about how it's too late for him, and Moxley was talking about a promise that he made to Kingston's mother. And yeah, they weren't supposed to touch, or the match would be called off. And yeah, sure, their noses bumped, but there's some real emotion in there, and it was really incredible. And I chose that as my favorite promo. But if you were also gonna go with promo as in one person talking, I had to have to go with MJF. We Deserve Better. It was his presidential address leading into his match with Jon Moxley. It went like, God dang it, I think it went like 13 minutes or something, and it was just like compelling from start to bottom, and it was like, how's this kid like 24 years old doing this? So yeah, but leaving it at favorite promo, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston face to face.
I was going to say everything Jon Moxley said all year, but I decided to be more specific and not pick him in the end. I will go also with Eddie Kingston, but I will do the Train Tracks promo. Where he's talking about like doing this for his mom and stuff. And I will say, if he was on Renee Paquette's podcast, and it was fantastic. Like,
yes,
really getting to understand him better is interesting. He's an interesting character, a legit character.
Definitely. Now, this next category that I have down is a very broad term right here, and I think we have another reward that's pretty similar to it. But hey, this is Monday Night Pod. Let's roll with it.
What do you have?
I have Best Redemption.
Yes, okay. That seems pretty specific. My pick, though, is Roman Reigns. Because he redeemed his entire career pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the reasons we talked about, he's finally the guy who we all wanted to be. You know what? I think I'm pulling a switch on myself here because I had a much broader term originally, but I have a more specific team that I'd rather put in there. I think the best redemption this year has to go to the Butcher and the Blade, who, when they debuted, and it was like, who's that? That's the Butcher, and even JR.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's the Blade. And and they didn't debut to like a huge, not a huge ovation or anything like that. It was just like, who are these guys? They're an indie tag team, kind of whatever. Since then, they have had some real great matches. Falls Count Anywhere with the Young Bucks, the Bunkhouse Brawl with QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes, and they're regularly featured in the main event. And I'm huge fans of the Butcher and the Blade. They've totally turned things around from being kind of ridiculed when they first came around to really being mainstay, important characters on the show and great workers. So all about Butcher and the Blade for Best Redemption.
Okay.
Next up, I got best moment down here.
What is your best moment?
My best moment, I guess, is kind of it was my favorite, I guess, is what you'd say. It's hard to say that he All right, so I have down Kenny Omega screws AEW, walks out with the title.
Good one. Okay, yeah.
Now, I was trying to explain the significance of that moment to my friends who are just getting into AEW, who have never been wrestling fans before. I got a couple of them who are starting to watch it because it was, as I mentioned on the show, I have a friend who's a huge fan of the Butchers band, Every Time I Die, so we started watching because of that. I have another friend who started watching just because it was coming out of the NBA, and he's like, "Oh, what's all this? This is that show that you've been talking about." And so I was trying to explain to them the significance of a wrestler winning a world title and then getting into a car and his manager saying, "We'll tell you about it on another wrestling show." And like, even in the 90s when like WCW was a thing and there were two major wrestling promotions going on at the same time, there's no chance that one promotion would ever allow allow one of their talent to go on and say that they were going to go on to a different show. I mean, we did see a little bit with ECW.
Yeah. That is sort of the best comparison, though.
Yeah, it is. But, like, as we also watched the show, like, ECW was treated as a joke and trash.
Very true. And they also didn't really promote that WWF wrestlers were going to be in their shit. They just did it.
Right, exactly. So, and they weren't sending their world champion. They were sending... Yeah, they sent Jerry Lawler. Like, Lawler, you work independents already, so what's the difference? You can go to ECW for a night. That moment just sticks out with me so much. Kenny Omega wins the AEW title and just walks out to go to Impact.
Cool. My best moment is Edge returns at the Royal Rumble. I almost forgot that happened last year, which is so crazy. I was like, wait, something happened to fans last year? Oh, wait. Yeah, no, just like the person we never thought would come back. Came back and had like an amazing pop. And I mean, yes, was their moment ruined when Kevin Dunn cut away from the first goddamn spear to show some fat guy in the audience? Yes, it was. But you know what? It's all good.
It's all good. He came back and he won a Rumble now. So, like, my goodness. Okay. All right. I'm about that. That's a good best moment, Jeremy. But I got to ask you, who is your most improved wrestler?
I went with the Dark Order as a whole. Because if you remember that those like last episodes of 2019 of AEW and what the Dark Order was, like they literally ruined the entire show. And to see their redemption come from the worst thing on the show to up there as part of the best part of the show is amazing.
Yes, I agree entirely. So much of it is from Brody Lee and Brody's influence on things, obviously. But you know, you got to give props to the guys and Anna Jay themselves who are in there, you know, putting in the work on being the elite, and just like getting over. I mean, gosh, Silver and Reynolds, what an incredible tag team! And like, what were they, the Beaver Boys before or something like that?
Idea.
That's
like, definitely what they would have been if they were in the WWE.
Yeah, Silver has a couple. I think he has like 2 appearances in WWE as a you know, just like the local enhancement guy. But yeah. Anyway, all right, good pick. I chose somebody who she has really come into her own over the last year. Was doubted very much as a babyface, and I think now is one of the most respected and in demand female performers in wrestling. I'd have to give it to Dr. Britt Baker, who is just like so in command now of who she is and who she needs to be. Like, a lot of people try to say like, oh, why doesn't Dr. Britt have the title yet or whatever? Like, the thing is, Dr. Britt is in a place where she's such a star that she doesn't need the title.
Agreed.
Title does a lot more for Hikaru Shida than it would for Britt Baker having it. So Dr. Britt Baker, my most improved.
Excellent.
Of the year.
Next up, we have the worst story. This one for me was an easy one. I guess sorry, it's your turn to go first, Adam. What was your worst story?
This was how we're just winging it. Yeah. All right. Now this is fun. This is when we get into the stuff that we don't really like. I have Raw Underground
Ooh,
as my
that's a
worst
good one.
story.
You know what, Adam? I completely blocked that out of my memory.
The thing is, there's not really much of a story to even say. Like
Right.
it was just a thing. It was just
Just a
around,
thing.
and
Yeah.
yeah, but it was the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. That's completely gone from my. Yeah, I blocked that out. But okay. Well, I went with.
Well, what didn't you block out? What stayed in your brain, Jeremy?
Well, I think there's a lot from WWE, especially you could pick, but I think like a lot of stuff is like lower tier. Like that really was like just a few segments. So I went with something that was a goddamn main event, and that is Bray and Braun, which we had to see main event across the entire summer. Each of their matches getting progressively worse and worse and worse. With just, I mean, they didn't even finish it. They were just like, God damn, Roman's back. Just get the fucking title on him. We're done with this shit. They added a pay-per-view just to get the belt on Roman.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. And yeah, they're like shave Braun's head and get the title on Roman. Who cares? Thinking about that, it also probably led to what I would consider the worst cinematic match out there. That like they totally didn't
Fest
really
match
even
or whatever?
understand. Yeah. Which like they didn't even understand like what made cinematic matches special with that match, which is weird considering that Bray also has had one of the best cinematic matches of all time, in my opinion.
Is that when they started it, nobody was paying attention. Wink, wink. And then by the time we got to July, everybody had their own little hands in the cinematic match, and that's how shit gets ruined.
Yeah. It is awful. I also had an honorable mention for the formation and the execution of Retribution.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I was like, it's still pretty lower tier, so you could sort of dismiss
I just wanted
the
to give
thing.
it an honorable mention in there. Now I think I added this in at the last minute, so I doubt that you have it. But I have this the best match that I wish didn't exist that I threw in here.
Fair.
No, I mean I had to say it because it's such a well executed match that I still think about often. The Good, the Bad, and the Hungy. Hangman Silver and Reynolds versus MJF, Santana, and Ortiz at the Brody Lee tribute show, where Eric Rowan ran out and made the save, and -1 hit MJF with the kendo stick. That match is so good. It is excellent, top to bottom. Just wanted to give it a shout out as the best match that I wish didn't
I
exist.
thought your brain was going towards like a match that was so good, it's a shame that it couldn't have happened in front of an audience.
Hey, that'd be a good one too.
I don't have an answer for you.
What a
but there's
great
probably
category.
lots of choices there. But it's like, why did you even bother? Couldn't we have just like waited? I guess not.
I mean, I'm gonna throw. I'll throw. I'm gonna keep my AEW train going there, and I would throw the Bucks versus FTR in there. That's a dream match that had been percolating for 5 years, like, and I think it's also. I was thinking about this. I was trying to think about dream matches that truly delivered, and I think those lists are pretty scarce because ultimately, when you do have a dream match, you've built it up too much and it never delivers. Think about like an AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania, where it was like, those are a pretty good match, but like that's a dream match. Them at Mania, wasn't that? Yeah, I think the Bucks and FTR delivered, in my opinion, and I wish it was in front of a crowd.
Great. All right. Well, the next up, I have worst moment of the year. Is that what you have?
You want to go first,
Sure.
Jeremy? Because mine is kind of a weak answer.
Ooh, all right. Well, I went with Sammy and Matt Hardy. Watching Matt Hardy's skull crack on the concrete was not pleasant and ruined an entire pay-per-view.
Do you have a worst botch category?
Yeah. And spoiler alert, I picked the same thing.
Yeah. You know what? We'll do a little combination there, and I'll throw that in there too. Yeah, it was really a shame because it was a good show, and yeah, that one just weighed so much on everybody. because I guess I can't really say crowds being a thing of the past.
Good.
But
Good.
maybe I could say the debut of the Thunderdome.
Hey, the Thunderdome is fantastic. What are you talking about? I love the Thunderdome. Do you remember when we had to watch wrestling in an empty gym? Or would you prefer them to be in a Thunderdome?
It's called Impact, I know. Well, my thing with it is one of my favorite things, I should say, about wrestling, and what makes it so much different from any other form of entertainment, be it television, be it like stand-up comedy or a play, right, is this relationship between the performers and the audience, right? And the audience's ability to influence the show at times, right? Which is extremely rare, but really one of the most incredible things that happens in wrestling when something spontaneous, when something's like spontaneously happens. Just like I'll throw out just a small example from a couple weeks ago. Kip and Penelope got married. Miro was giving his little speech, and he asked what is love, and the crowd started singing, baby don't hurt me, don't hurt me no more, or whatever, and he like let it play into it, and it's cool. There's not like a lot of other forms of entertainment where you see that kind of give and take relationship from the performers to the audience that can happen there. And my issue with the Thunderdome is it's just everything that WWE always wished they had, which was full control over their audience and how they react to everything. So like there was a interview recently where one of my favorite performers of the world, Cesaro, was talking about how he was hoping for his own sort of Kofi Mania moment to happen at Elimination Chamber this year. It's impossible to have a Kofi Mania moment
if Vince
without
wants
the
it to
fans
happen,
demanding the. Yeah, but that's not a Kofi Mania moment then.
Well,
Kofi Mania was brought on by the fans.
I don't disagree with you, but I will say, as a counter argument, that there's a lot of audiences that either one doesn't care, and that ruins the show. Raw especially has, not that it's their fault, Raw's been terrible, but there's been a lot of shows where it's like, goddamn, if the audience was in it, it would make it so much better. Or the flip side is like the audience taking over something and trying to like get over themselves and ruining the show. While yes, it is ridiculous that like Hunter comes out and they're like, they hit the fucking button that says one more match. It's just like, oh my God, like you could cheer and boo, but it's so insane. It's that I agree. Yeah. But we don't have people.
Yeah, this is awesome. Or something like that.
Or like with the Undertaker thing was just a fucking mess. It's like he's like waiting for the applause to go down. Nobody's cheering. Why are we waiting? Yeah. Just turn off the goddamn button. So I don't disagree with you, but I also say, I do think that sometimes they ruin the experience of the show, and we have not had that. So, and Roman gets to get over as a heel, which I don't think would have happened if there was an audience. I think that people would have cheered him.
Yeah, I could see that because he's so bad, he's cool kind of thing. But I'm also interested in where Roman's character and his ring work goes when there's crowds in again, because I know I've been critical of this in the past, but it's just one of the things that is so prevalent in his matches is dialogue. Like just stopping and talking, and I'm like, that doesn't really work with a live crowd. So I mean, we'll see where it goes one day. Excited about that. So between these, worst moment of the podcast right here is obviously us putting worst bots together for our preferences. But we have another worst that's up next, and that is the worst wrestler of 2020. Jer Bear, what are you thinking?
Well, this was easy to me, Adam. Nia Jax continues to be the worst over and over and over, and is given more and more opportunities to just continue to not only put on poor performances, but legitimately hurt people. The two things you're asked to do is make people want to see you and don't hurt people, and she fails at both continuously.
You have an excellent answer there, and are making me doubt mine a little bit, but like, it's such this 2020 is such a fever dream that like I don't even remember if certain things happened in 2020 or if it was in 2019, and I should have looked that up, but I didn't. So my worst wrestler of the year is Goldberg. Just not making anybody look better. Just selfishly there to get paid to do his own thing and not adding.
He went there to
the
lose to Braun
product.
Strowman, though.
Yeah. And one of the worst. God, the 2 title matches for Mania last year, it was just the worst.
Adam, there were 3 title matches at Mania last year. Have you already forgotten that the after the show bonus match that they aired on Raw when the Big Show came out and had a WWE title match? One of the more perplexing things I've ever heard in my entire life. To have a bonus match in front of no fans that nobody watched until Raw anyway. Why wouldn't you just do that on? You aired it in full on Raw. Yet you taped it the night before. Big Show just walks out. And now he's in the main event WrestleMania. None of it makes sense.
man, yeah. Last year's Mania is so weird. Wonder what this year's gonna be. But yeah, was Goldberg? All right, I should have looked this up. Was Goldberg versus The Fiend for the title?
Yes.
Was that in 2019?
No, that was in February of 2020, I believe.
Holy shit! What?
It was better than Goldberg Undertaker.
It's so difficult to compare which nothing is worse. You know, it's like on one hand this was nothing, on the other hand this was less nothing. Challenging, nonetheless. Next up, I have the most shocking moment.
The shock master. Yes, I have that.
Okay, wonderful. You mind if I take
Go
this
ahead.
one? My most shocking moment was Brody Lee handing Cody his own ass and taking the TNT title in 3.5 minutes.
Fair.
Now, in modern wrestling, the TNT title and its rise to importance was one of my favorite things that I've seen. So well executed. I think it's tapered off a little bit because unfortunately Darby's not defending it as much as I would prefer that he is. But Cody was busting his ass doing these great 2-3 segment matches defending that title against all kinds of great competitors. It's where Eddie Kingston came in and we got to see, Scorpio Sky had a great match with him. We got to see some interesting combinations like Warhorse came in, and it made this title feel like something important and something it's so hard to say secondary title. It's just a different title there. I mean, it is a secondary title, but it's a different title. It's not a throwaway thought, and they established that so much over all these super competitive matches that Cody had with real talented wrestlers. And then Brody Lee says, next week I'm coming for your fucking title. And he shows up, and Cody doesn't get a lick of offense in. He doesn't even hook the leg for the pin. He just completely hands him his own ass. I must have watched that match 5 times. That was my most shocking moment of the year. Just, they had established what it was to compete with Cody for that title so much, and then just bam, went the other way, and it was so effective and so good. And I still get goosebumps thinking about it. Love it.
Okay. Mine was Edge returning. I know there were rumors, but still, I did not think it would ever see the day.
I agree. How do you like? We haven't talked too much about it. How do you feel about Edge's overall performance since he's been back?
I mean, in ring wise, I think he's been fun. I don't know if he's found the character. I think him coming back and doing stuff with Randy Orton was fun, but I feel like at this point it's I don't know if I like the character. I don't want to see him win, no matter who he faces at WrestleMania. I don't think he should, or I don't want to see him win. So if it's your top babyface guy and I'm not interested in seeing him winning, there's an issue there. I'd rather see him team with Christian and go after the tag team titles. In a division that doesn't super matter, you could have those guys have really fun matches with everybody.
Yeah, and maybe they could make that division matter again. Right,
exactly.
Which would be cool.
He likes going to all the shows anyway. Go to goddamn NXT. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I get it. And you're totally right about you want that guy to win, and I guess when you don't, it is weird. But we shall see. I definitely have. They didn't determine that he's definitely going after Roman yet.
He is not announced. He joked on Instagram that he might be going after the UK Championship, but he has not confirmed anything officially.
Well, I mean, Walter would. Next up, I have the best cinematic match.
I don't have that category, but it's fine.
Okay. I threw it in there. I think you can probably come up with
I
something.
have something.
Because this is a very, very close run for me between the Stadium Stampede and the Firefly Funhouse match.
I agree.
So let's talk this out. Let's see if we can decide which one we prefer. Now, the Stadium Stampede is, I think, a cinematic match executed at the highest level that you want for a cinematic match, right? Fun, dramatic, interesting, beats all around that go, it takes you on a journey up and down. There's clear to follow stories all over with so many different competitors in it and so many callbacks and so many interesting references. Really, really just adore that match. Firefly Funhouse match touches into some real stuff, right? The Nikki Bella stuff, the Cena throughout the years when he got booed. They showed a clip of when CM Punk took the title from him, which, I mean, come on. I just thought I should have had I just thought we should have had like a most worst outcome of the year kind of thing, and I would have given it to CM Punk's returning to wrestling like a wet fart.
That was in 2019, Adam.
Oh, okay, all right, good. Then I didn't put it in there. Oh man, see, god dang, can you believe CM Punk used to be my favorite? Anyway, those are some thoughts that I have about the two. And Firefly Funhouse. I mean, I'm never gonna forget that match either. So Jeremy, that's my thoughts on the cinematic matches. But tell me, what are you thinking?
My thought process was, I noticed Stadium Stampede was a cinematic match, but in my brain it still kind of wasn't. It was shot that way, but it was still very much like a sort of parking lot brawl, backstage assault, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So to me, it's cinematic-ish. Where because the Firefly Funhouse match is completely out of the wrestling universe, I kind of like that more. Even the Money in the Bank thing. People look back on that and did not like it. I know you didn't really like it. I still think that was really fun. It was something completely out of the ordinary of any kind of match. We might not ever see it again.
I just didn't think the Money in the Bank thing was as well executed as it could have been. The whole part where they had to have Stephanie on.
Well, to me, the finishes made no sense. First of all, 2 people died. And they were also, I think it was Asuka and Corbin, 2 people up on the ladder fighting for it when they each could have grabbed their own briefcase. Again,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense. God damn it. It's the simplest things make sense. But anyway, that's why I picked Bray and Cena.
Okay. I can go with you on that one. I think Bray and Cena is just, it's brilliant, it's smart, it's memorable, it takes in a bunch of real stuff, and it was the last time we saw Cena in a while. So
and he turns heel, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Well, he they have a figure of him in the NWO coming out, which goodness.
If you want to make money, Adam, that's what you do.
That's what. Well, if you want to make money from the marks like us, that's
no. I mean, for real, have him do the NWO. Can you imagine?
Oh, dude, I would love the NWO to come back in some kind of way. That would be so cool. Okay, all right. Well, congratulations to them. And as a final category here, well, before we get into that, is there any other random favorite things of the year that you have that are popping into your head that you just want to shout out? We could take this moment.
It's a bummer that I really didn't include any of NXT this year. It kind of says something about the product. It still is, watchable and enjoyable, and the takeovers are still great. But for some reason, none of it really stood out. The McAfee stuff was great, but I think they were just sort of missing that extra oomph, the extra storyline, the extra guy. I think the Cole title reign sort of dragged on a little bit. Keith Lee never really got that reign. He sort of won both belts, and Vince is like, give it to me so I could ruin him. Like if we got to see that prolonged, it would have been cool. And then obviously Karrion Kross got the belt, and then he immediately got hurt. So like they just couldn't get their momentum. But it's sort of shocking to see a whole list and not bring them up once.
That's fair, and I think an issue with NXT is when we used to love it so much, when it was such a darling, and rightfully so, they were putting on some of the best product, certainly in America at the time, is when they took it and they turned it into counter programming. Like that's literally all that it is anymore, is counter programming, and it's really stifled its growth. It's stifled its ability to like take risks and do interesting things, and like let characters sort of come into their own, and has put a real rush on everything that like just it's lost its magic.
Well, I mean,
in that like it became a corporate thing, right? Like it was always a corporate thing, but it's literally where it is to stop another company from growing, which is sad, and it's counterproductive in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
really hurt the product.
Or like, I don't even know if it's that, because you obviously do get moments of that. I don't know if it's across the entire show, but it will say going 2 hours sucks, going to USA sucks, going live every week sucks. Like what I enjoyed about NXT was that it was 1 hour a week taped. There would be episodes you could just fucking skip. Like the episodes after the takeovers were always filmed before the takeovers. They were just like nice, like, ooh, let me take a nice week break because I know literally nothing's going to happen. And I love those episodes. And they've shown a little bit more promise in 2020 already. The Cameron Grimes thing is one of the best things I've ever seen in wrestling. Did you see that music video?
That's 2020.
No, I'm saying that we're already improving is my point.
Yeah. Well, Grimes he's a unlikely star, and I've always loved his ring work and stuff like that, and it's really cool to see the kind of stuff that they're doing with him. But yeah, it makes it hard for me to want NXT to succeed when I know it's specifically where it is to stop an upstart that is helping the industry, right? Because whether you like AEW or not, you cannot deny that for the health of professional wrestling, it is a great thing that it's around. For the health of independent wrestling, people ask, hey, why does Dark have to be 2 hours now? Why does Dark have to have 17 matches or whatever?
Insane.
It is, and it's also keeping a lot of people employed and keeping a lot of people working and keeping a lot.
If that's your argument, Adam, do you know how many goddamn people are working for WWE right now?
No, I know, but people were working for WWE already and before, and WWE ain't taking taking an independent wrestler and right, yeah, but they ain't taking independent wrestlers and saying, hey, like you're having a tough time, like come. Be an enhancement for us for a couple of weeks. They're like, no, we own a whole developmental building full of enhancement talents that can't go anywhere else.
Those people would have been sad indie wrestlers if they weren't under contract, though.
No, they wouldn't. They're a bunch of college athletes. Come on, what are you talking about? There's no indie wrestlers in there anymore. Also, a sad shout out to the fall of Aleister Black.
Yeah, hopefully he gets to go to AEW, I guess. The Elite. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it became clear and should be clear that like as long as Vince is in charge, it's never going to be a Satan guy.
Also,
or girl.
Stop
at the
taking
time.
Hunter's toys from NXT if you just want to destroy them. You know what I mean? Like he takes them and rips them apart. It's like, oh, why didn't you just let Hunter play with them? You didn't really need that toy, did you?
Yeah. It took all of like 2 weeks to make Keith Lee and Matt Riddle not feel special anymore.
It's true.
Oh well. Let's end on a positive note, and let's talk about our favorite pay-per-view event of 2020. Being as tough of a year as it was, and as dark of a year as it was, there had to be some pay-per-view that we absolutely love so much that we still think about. And want to remember right now in this moment as we give it the 2020 Monday Night Pod retrospective favorite pay-per-view of the year. Jeremy, why don't you start this one off?
Sure. Well, I eliminated everything that didn't have crowds because I was like, I can't do that. Although there were some very good pay-per-views throughout the year. WWE especially was able to pull off some great shows. It just, when I felt it, I was like, let's just go with the crowd. So Ronan limited ourselves like 3 pay-per-views then to pick from, or 4. I guess TakeOver had a few in there. Anyway, whatever it was. I picked the Royal Rumble. I felt a little bit down on it after watching this year's Royal Rumble because I thought this year's was one of the best shows ever. But it did try and put my brain back into last year. And you did have like 2 really great Royal Rumbles. Drew finally winning and, achieving the Mania top slot is cool. You had Becky Lynch and Asuka. You had Roman Reigns and King Corbin. If the Falls Count Anywhere match was actually pretty fun, and if that had ended their feud right there, we would have looked at it a little bit better. And you had Fiend and Daniel Bryan, actually a pretty fun strap match.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that actually was a pretty good match. Yeah. That's a good call. I'm surprised that because we really haven't gotten into it, obviously, with our little hiatus here. Our opinions on the Royal Rumble from this past year, and I thought that. Not to get too deep into the weeds, but I thought that the Women's Rumble was one of the worst Rumbles I've ever seen in my life.
I completely disagreed.
I thought
it was significantly better than the men's, and really, really fun. And everyone that picked
maybe the finish, but like throughout, I was just seeing miscues and like bad offense, and like I thought the ladies looked terrible out there this last year.
I thought
I was very
the best women's Rumble ever, and one of my favorite, because I think what happens to the men's one is that I think you're looking for a lot of storylines. Cool, you're looking for a fun pop. I just think that the fun pops they got from the men's match took away from guys that like really needed to be in that match, which is a big fucking disappointment. Where the women's one, they had just enough nostalgia to like be fun with it, but didn't go too overboard. Yes, they blew the Bailey thing, but like at the end of the day, like didn't take away from the finish of the whole match. And I think like when you came down to it was Charlotte, Bianca, and Rhea Ripley, it's like let's fucking go. Like those are the 3 people you wanted to see. And
I get it.
There,
I get it. My issue isn't with the booking. My issue was with the execution, which I thought was very poor. But anyway, as we finish up, my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Had a similar mindset to you where I was going through like a lot of good shows without crowds, and it was just like kind of weighing on me there. And so I started thinking of crowds, and I ended up going with AEW Revolution. We have so many highlights in it. Obviously, you have Kenny and Adam versus the Young Bucks. It was a little you had MJF with Cody. I know some people had different opinions on that match. I really loved it. You have Pac versus Orange Cassidy, which is Cassidy's real coming out party in AEW, where like it was like, oh yeah, shit, this is what that guy is. He's not the joke match guy anymore that he was on the Indies, which is that's its own thing, and it's fine that it exists, but when he's doing joke matches with Jarvis Cottonbelly in the Indies, like that's one thing. When he's able to take that character and make him work in an actual competitive setting, obviously going against Pac, one of the best in the world, also really helps. But both guys in that match and the way that the audience responded to it was just so perfect. And then you have the conclusion of what was one of my favorite feuds of the last couple years. Even though I didn't give it a retrospective award, just the whole story of Moxley versus the Inner Circle, and this culminating with Moxley taking the title from Jericho in a very good match. This pay-per-view is special, and I just really adore it. Oh, forgot about Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara. Had an incredible, short but incredible match. Really great show. So one day, Jeremy, we are going to have crowds back, and we're going to be able to...
I mean, we could go to Orlando or Jacksonville right now and watch them if you really wanted to, because Florida doesn't give a shit. But
full capacity crowds. I think, Google thinks it's going to be in like September is what they're telling their workers about when it's going to be. But I'm just trying to think.
They don't know Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Adam.
There's that. But also, just for the podheads out there, if you just want to take a little bit of positivity to think about where we are with everything like that, we don't know where it's going to end, when we're going to be back to normal, but I honestly believe we are closer to the end than we are to the beginning. And I think whether we're right at halfway, God, I hope not. But I really sincerely believe we're closer to things being normal than we are from when they, went abnormal.
SummerSlam.
That's
the
right.
biggest party
hey, man,
of the
some
summer.
people...
Although we said that last year, so let's wait. Hold off on that.
We said that crowds will be back at SummerSlam.
Yes, I believe that was the thought process.
Yeah, well, Survivor Series feels like a safer.
But you could do SummerSlam outdoors, though.
That's true. That's true. If there's ever a time to like truly bring back Bash at the Beach, I suppose it's now.
That could be a good one. They're just going to pack people into... They could pack people into Jacksonville Stadium, I guess, and do something, right?
Yeah, they could. Well, yeah, if they go in the stadium, that actually would be something else.
You could spread them out a little bit.
You can get a lot more than... Yeah, you can get a lot more than 1,000 fans there as opposed to Daly's place. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Very interesting, Jeremy. I think you should...
Tony?
I think you should get a job there.
Tony, I'm here for you whenever consulting. Whatever you want to do. We'll work something out. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll work something. I mean, you're already tight with, his former world champion's wife. So,
That's true.
It's all good.
Maybe
it's all good.
Maybe me and Renee could come in as like a package deal. We could do some like food content for their YouTube. And, then, take it from there.
Oh my gosh! Look at how quickly you're talking about doing food content. I thought you were gonna do it with Brandy.
So Brandy's show is on hiatus because she's also pregnant because her whole show is about drinking. So
that's right. Shot of Brandy, I suppose.
So now I gotta wait for her to pop out the baby. And are they both having girls?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody is having girls.
Ooh,
all my friends who were pregnant during this time had girls. It is my totally unfounded conspiracy theory that nobody take this seriously. It's just a joke that I say that coronavirus makes us all have female babies. Because every single one that I know that has been born in the last year and is still coming is a girl.
Interesting.
But girls are great. Who doesn't love girls?
Well, yeah, but like we kind of need men too. All right, well, we'll deal with this when we get there.
Future is female. They'll figure it out.
Well, Adam, that was the best of 2020. Any final thoughts?
Man, way to make the best of a bad situation, wrestling industry in 2020. Obviously, there's a lot of lowlights, but we had some real highlights and some real memories, and we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. We made it this far. We can make it, my friends.
Yes. Here's to a better 2021 and fans coming back and. I don't know, WrestleMania being good, all that shit. And we will be back soon. Ish. We'll figure it out. We'll get episodes back up.
But, yes, we are going back. Monday Night Pod. We are back. We are going. We're doing it.
Well, Adam and I